Hi, fourth graders. Today is our first virtual Spirit Wear Day, so Spirit Week. Super exciting. And as you can tell from my background, our theme today is superheroes. So if you have a superhero outfit or you want to make a superhero video, please share them with us on Schoology. So you'll notice in this week's folder for distance learning, we have a little folder that says Spirit Week, and inside that folder, we have media files for pictures that you guys have taken of yourself for Spirit Day. So my read aloud today is going to be chapter 6 of, can't see, of Shiloh. And it's funny because we're on chapter 6 and it's April 6th. How fun is that? So if we're looking at chapter 6, if you remember, the last thing that happened in chapter 5 is that the sheriff, that Judd Turner came by to ask about his dog. And Marty said that he hadn't seen him in the yard, right? So I'll just read the last paragraph before we start on chapter 6. It says, Sheriff would get on you if you do something like that, Judd. That's Marty's dad talking, and he's responding to Judd, who said that he was going to shoot Shiloh if he kept running away. Law never told me before what I could do with my dogs and won't be telling me now, Judd says. He laughs, waves his hand, starts the engine, and the pickup pulls away. Chapter 6. Night in West Virginia is as dark and black as can be. No car lights sweeping across my walls or ceiling like when I stay overnight with David Howard down in Friendly. No street lamps shining in the windows, no lights from the next door houses. Where I live, there ain't no street lamps at all. No houses close enough to see from our windows. My eyes are open anyway. I stare up into the darkness of the living room, and the darkness stares back. Ooh, did you notice that example of personification? The darkness staring back. I'm remembering how once, several years ago, when Ma bought milk chocolate rabbits one Easter for me and Dara Lynn, I'd finished eating mine, but Dara Lynn took only a nibble of hers every day or so, keeping it up on her dresser in its pink and yellow tinfoil, driving me nuts. And one day, I just crept in there and ate off one of that rabbit's ears. Dara Lynn, of course, threw a fit, and when Ma asked me if I'd done it, I said no. I could feel my cheeks and neck burning red. You sure, Marty? She asked. I'd only nodded and left the room, and it was one of the worst days of my life. About an hour later, she come out on the porch where I was pushing myself slow in the swing and sat down beside me. You know, Marty, she said, Dara Lynn don't know who ate the ear off her candy rabbit, and I don't know who did it, but Jesus knows. And right this very minute, Jesus is looking down with the saddest eyes on the person who ate that chocolate. The Bible says that the worst thing that can ever possibly happen to us is to be separated forever from God's love. I hope you'll keep that in mind. Do you think Ma knows? I think she might. I just swallowed and didn't say anything. But before I went to bed, when Ma asked me again about that rabbit, I gulped and said, yes. And she made me get down on my knees and ask God's forgiveness, which wasn't so bad. I honestly felt better afterwards. But then she said that Jesus wanted me to go into the next room and tell Dara Lynn what I'd done. And Dara Lynn had a fit all over again. She threw a box of Crayolas at me and could have broke my nose. Called me a rotten, greedy pig. If that made Jesus sad, Ma never said. Now as I study the darkness in the room around me, I'm thinking about the lies again. I hadn't lied to Judd Travers when I said I hadn't seen his dog in the yard today. That was the honest-to-God truth, because Shiloh hadn't been anywhere near our yard. And I also knew that you can lie, but I also knew that you can lie not only by what you say, but what you don't say. Nothing I told Judd was an outright lie, but what I kept inside myself made him think that I hadn't seen his dog at all. Jesus, I whispered finally, what you want me to do? Be 100% honest and carry that dog back to Judd so that one of your creatures can be kicked and starved all over again? Or keep him here and fatten him up to glorify your creation? The question seemed to answer itself, and I'm pretty proud of that prayer. I repeated it to myself so as to remember it in case I needed to use it again. If Jesus is anything like the story cards from Sunday school make him out to be, he ain't the kind to want a thin little beagle to be hurt. The problem's more mixed up than that, though. I'm lying to my folks as well. I'm not eating the leftover meatloaf I've put away. Every bit of food saved is money saved that could go to buy Daryl Lynn a new pair of sneakers so Ma won't have to cut open the tops of her old ones to give her toes more room. Every little bit of food wasted is money wasted. If we ever have the least little bit of money to spare that doesn't go for the care of Grandma Preston, first thing we all want is a telephone so we don't have to ride down to Doc Murphy's to use his. But the way I figure, if it's food from my own plate I would have eaten myself, but don't, what's the harm in that? Next morning, when I get up to see Shiloh, I put the rope on his collar and lead him to the other side of the hill again, out of sight of all but God. Then I let him go and race and tumble and laugh and roll, stopping now and then just to lie in the clovers, me on my back and Shiloh on his stomach, both of us panting and nuzzling each other. I don't know if Shiloh's getting more human or I'm getting more dog. If Jesus ever comes back to earth again, I'm thinking he'll come as a dog because there isn't anything as humble or patient or loving or loyal as the dog I have in my arms right now. We eat our Sunday meal, but by late afternoon, storm clouds roll in and rain beats down on the tin roof of our house, streaming down the window glass, making a small pond in the side of the yard. I can't help staring out the window at the far hill. Will Shiloh, can he even, leap that fence to try and get somewhere it's more dry? Is he smart enough to go under the lean-to I made for him? Have I built it right, away from the wind? What if he gets howling? In 20 minutes, the rain stops, though, and the sun comes out. The birds start to sing again, all those worms oozing up through the wet mud. Shiloh stayed where he was, trusting me that where I put him was best, being quiet like he knows his life depends upon it. Marty, Dad says, going outside with a rag to wipe off his Jeep. I saw Miss Howard yesterday, and she said David was back from Tennessee, wanting to know when you boys could get together. She said David would like to come up here someday next week. I like David Howard fine, but I sure don't want him up here. David likes the hill, always wants to play there. He's not afraid of snakes the way Daryl Lynn is. David, in fact, likes to go to the very top of that hill and then run slickety-split down it, racing to see who's the first to the fence at the bottom. Likes to climb the trees up there, too, and play lookout. Well, I'll go down to David's tomorrow, I say. I'd rather do that. Why not do both, Ma says, coming out and to throw some mash to the hens. You've hardly seen any friends all summer, Marty. Why don't you go down to Friendly one afternoon and ask David to come up here another? There's nothing much to do up here, I say, not knowing how else to answer. It was the wrong answer. Both Ma and Dad were looking at me now. You said just the other day you had plenty to do here, Dad tells me, wringing out his rag at the pump. Lots for me to do, but not much for David Howard, I say. A lie. That's a flat-out lie. Funny how one lie leads to another, and before you know it, your whole life can be a lie. I sit on the porch swing later, not even bothering to push it. I listen to the table being set inside. What do you figure's wrong with that boy, Lou? Dad's voice. Just being 11, I guess, Ma tells him. 11's a moody age. Was for me, anyways. You think that's all it is? What pleases you one day don't please you at all the next. What more do you think it is? You don't think he's got that dog on his mind still, do ya? 11's got everything on its mind, Ma answered. And then the evening news comes on and Daryl Lynn and Becky come out on the porch, leaving the TV to Daddy. Daryl Lynn's got the devil in her tonight, a little bit bored with summer, but not quite ready for school to start. Just for devilment, she plunks herself down beside me in the swing and starts doing everything I do. I sigh, she sighs. I rest my arms on my head, she does the same. Gets Becky doing it too, both of them laughing to beat the band. I'm sure you guys have never experienced that. I bet some of you guys have probably done that just to be annoying as well. When I have my fill of this nonsense, I decide to go up the hill and see how Shiloh's doing. But as I go down off the porch, Daryl Lynn gets up and makes as if to follow me. I stop. I'm looking to find me a snake stick, I say as if to myself. I'm looking to find me a snake stick, Dara says. I don't pay no mind at all. Just start walking along the edge of the yard, picking up a stick and a stick here and a stick there. Dara Lynn tagging along behind. It's got to be the longest handle and a good strong fork on the end, I say, because that was the biggest, meanest snake I ever saw in my life. Dara Lynn stops dead still. She couldn't say all that if she tried, but she's not interested anymore in trying. What snake? She says. Snake I saw up on the hill this morning. I tell her. I tell her. Must be 4 or 5 feet long, just looking for somebody's leg to wrap itself around. Dara Lynn don't go a step farther. Becky don't even come off the porch. What are you going to do when you find it? Dara Lynn asks, trying to keep it from biting me first. Pick it up with my stick, second, put it in a sack, and carry it clear on past the Shiloh schoolhouse. Let it out in the woods there. Won't kill it unless I have to. Kill it, says Dara Lynn. Get your gun out and blow its head off. You've been watching too much stuff on TV, Dara Lynn, I tell her. Even snakes got the right to live. I'm thinking how if I ever become a vet helper, I gotta take care of pet snakes too. Next day to head off to David Howard's from riding Next day, to head off David Howard from riding up from Friendly on his bike, I go down to see him. I tended to Shiloh first, taking a fistful of scrambled eggs left over from breakfast, a bit of bacon, and a half a slice of whole wheat toast that I stuck into my jean pocket. It's not enough for the dog, I know, but probably more than he'd get from Judd. It's not enough for me either. Sneaking off half my breakfast, lunch, and dinner for Shiloh, like I'm doing, means I'm going half hungry all the time. But if I eat extra, that means Shiloh costing us money he can't afford. I fill my pockets with wormy peaches before I set out to Friendly, biting off each piece, spitting it into my hand, picking out the worms before I put it back in my mouth. It pleases me that Shiloh was sleeping in his lean-to when I gone up that morning. The ground was dry under there, and I brought up some old gunny sacks from the shed for him to lie on, make it seem like a bed to him, more like a home. The walk to Friendly takes a good long time unless I hitch a ride. I'm not allowed to get in a car with somebody I don't know, but Dad being the mail carrier for this part of the county, I know most everybody who goes by. The first person to come along this day, though, is Judd Travers. When I hear the sound of a motor, I turn to see his truck slowing down. I turn forward again and keep on walking, but he pulls up beside me. Want a lift? He sings out. No thanks, I say. I'm almost there. Where are you going? I couldn't think fast enough to lie. David Howard's. Boy, you ain't even halfway. Hop in. I know I don't have to unless I want, but he's already suspicious about me. That'll only make it worse. So I get in. Seen my dog yet? First thing out of his mouth. I've been looking over all the roads, I tell him in answer. No beagle. Well, I don't think he'd stick to the roads, Judd says. Not a dog as shy as him. Shy as a field mouse, except when he's around rabbits. But that's what the man said who sold me to him, and he sure was right about that. How much did you pay for him? I ask. Got him cheap because he's shy. $35. Worth a lot more than that as a hunting dog if I could just keep that animal home. You gotta treat a dog good if you want him to stick around, I say, bold as brass. What do you know about it? Judd jerks his head in my direction and then turns the other way and spits his tobacco out the window. You never even had a dog, did you? I figure a dog's the same as a kid. You don't treat a kid right, he'll run off the first chance he gets to. Judd laughs. Well, if that was true, I would have run away when I was 4. Far back as I can remember, Pa took the belt to me, big old welts on my back so raw I could hardly pull my shirt on. I stuck around. Didn't have any place else to go. Turned out, didn't I? Turned out how? The boldness in my chest is growing, taking up all the air. Now Judd sounds mad. You trying to be smart with me, boy? No, just asking how you turned out. Somebody who was beat since he was 4. I feel sorry, is what I feel. Judd's real quiet a minute. The big old wad of tobacco in his cheek bobs up and down. Well, don't go wasting your sorry on me, he says. Nobody ever felt sorry for me, and I never felt sorry for nobody else. Sorry is something I can do without. I don't say anything at all. We reach the road where David Howard lives and the truck slows down. I can walk from here, I tell him. Thanks. I get out. But as I come around the truck to cross the street, Judd leans out the window. Like I said, that dog's a shy one. Don't think you'll see much of him near the road, but you keep your eye out for him in the fields. That's where he'll be, more'n likely. You see him, all you gotta do is whistle. That's what I teach him. I whistle and he comes, he gets fed. But if he does something I don't like, I kick him clear to China. You see him, just whistle, then hang on to him, and I'll come by and pick him up. You hear? I hear, I tell him, and keep walking. I feel like I understand Judd Travers just a little bit more. He's a really mean person, but it seems like he's had a really hard childhood. I think I feel just like Marty feels. I feel sorry for him. There's always more to somebody's story than what you know. And I think there's probably a lot more to Judd Travers' story than we know as readers. Guys, have a wonderful day and enjoy your learning today. Don't forget, Happy Spirit Day. How could you forget with my awesome superhero background? Have a good one.